Hello and welcome to the Awaken Jen Tarot YouTube channel. So today I'm going to do another video for Autism Awareness Month. And today I thought it would be fun to go over some of the testing that I did for my autism diagnosis. And so I'm going to share the test results on the screen. And then I'm also going to go through afterwards, and we're going to go through the Aspie Quiz together, which is actually, I don't think is one of the tests on here, but I don't remember. We're going to go through it and see. So I thought it would be interesting to go through one of the autism diagnostic tests together because you can do them online too. Just to let you see how I would have answered the questions and just see how you might answer these questions. And you can do it with me as well if you want. And I will put that link in the description box for you too if you want to take the test. What I love about the Aspie quiz is that it actually it scores you in two different ways. So it's going to score you on your neurodivergent score plus your neurotypical score. So you can kind of see like how you line up with neurotypical as well as neurodivergent. And then it takes the difference between those two scores. And I think that if it's greater than like 30, that's what tells you that you're most likely autistic. So we'll go through that together and we'll let you see how mine comes out, and you can do that on your own as well. All right, so we'll just start by sharing my screen with you. So I've taken pictures of this psychometric test that I took for my autism diagnostic process. I am tripping all over my words, so just bear with me today. I'm sorry. So we've got the first one on here is the RADS R-A-A-D-S-R test. And so the score on this, I got a score of 182. And the threshold is 65. Anything over 65 is consistent with autism. So the higher up, the more likely you are autistic. So I've got consistent with autism. It measures, this test is measuring how much you mask. And so I did know that I had a very high masking score. That's very typical for people who are late diagnosed. Why am I tripping over these words? Late diagnosis. All right, so the AQ, this is the autism quotient. This is pretty typical for a test that they would give anywhere for the autism. So I got a score of 43. The threshold is 26. But it says right here, 80% of autistic people score 32 or above. And so I think I saw somewhere that said that if you score 36, you're almost guaranteed at that point. But I mean, none of these tests can fully confirm anything, but like the threshold here is 26. So the higher up, most autistic people are hitting at 32. So anything higher up than that is going to give you a consistent with autism diagnosis. I'm going to quit trying to say that word. All right. Oh, sorry. The RBQ-2A. I don't fully remember this test. So the threshold is 26. I scored 52. Let me look in my book here and see if I can figure out what that one was about. Okay. RBQ. RBQ. That's the repetitive behavior. Okay, that's the repetitive behavior. So that also can come in with the OCD. So I've got 52 is my score, 26 is the threshold. The average for autistic people is 36. The SQ-R. Probably should have just kept this open. All right, so the SQ, that's your systemizing quotient. So a lot of autistic people are very systemizing in the way that they process their information. So the threshold is 75. The scoring goes from 0 to 150. Um, and I got a score of 89, consistent with autism. The EQ, so that is your empathy quotient. And it's actually it's thought that autistic people are not very empathetic, but they are actually deeply empathetic. It's just the way that they express it can be different. But we've got the threshold is a score of below 30. 81% of autistic score under 30. The average neurotypical score is 42. I feel like I'm looking at this wrong. What I know about me is that I actually do have a lot of emotional intelligence and empathy, and that's not usually consistent with autism, but this has that I have cognitive empathy, so I do understand. I think that that's I understand when I'm supposed to be expressing empathy, but again, I think my score here is high compared to even neurotypical people because I do have high levels of emotional intelligence. All right, so the ADOS, where is that? I'm not sure where that is. That may have been the interview part that she did, just making sure that it came. Yeah. So this right here, this is just making sure that I was meeting the DSM-5 criteria for the autism diagnostic process. So you have to at least meet 2 in the communication area, at least 4 in the social, and at least 6 in the total. And so I've got 2 in the communication and 6 in social, and then the 8 in total. Um, so I think this is what she wrote in regard to that. For the communication, like other autistics, Jennifer was loquacious and friendly during the discussion, providing extensive and detailed answers when questioned. Jennifer was zealous regarding her passionate interest with a deep knowledge of the subjects. She engaged in cooperative overlap. During the interview, Jennifer provided spontaneous examples of topics under discussion. She used body language and gesture plasticity to emphasize her points less frequently than neurotypicals. And then for the social interaction, for this part, Jennifer uses fewer facial expressions as compared to a neurotypical. Jennifer used either less or more eye contact than appropriate to the context. Specifically, the eye contact did not seem synchronized to the communication in order to give emphasis to certain parts of what was being said or to indicate what she was or to indicate that she was listening. She had a decreased understanding compared to neurotypicals of how neurotypicals think and act. Jennifer showed full responsibility for herself. Her social overtures and social responses were consistent with autistics, but reduced when compared to neurotypicals. So that's how I was viewed by the therapist as she was doing the diagnostic interview. All right, so the cat Q, this is also about camouflaging and masking. So the higher this is, the more masking you're doing. So the threshold here is 100 and mine was 162. And then they break it down. This is camouflaging and masking and assimilation. So you can see here the average autism scores, the average total score is 124 for that. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next image. Is here. All right, the ESQ. The ESQ is Executive Skills Questionnaires because the executive functioning is very much affected with autistic people. So results show a pattern consistent with autism. Executive function skills are the mental processes that enable us to plan, focus, attention, remember instructions, juggle multiple tasks successfully, and self-regulate. Autism and ADHD both have specific weak executive skills. The Executive Skills Questionnaire identifies both areas of strength and weakness. This test can help determine whether a person is just autistic or autistic with ADHD, which I'm just autistic. So autistic adults show a decrease in flexibility and planning, while autistic adults with ADHD show a decrease in flexibility, planning, and response inhibition. Time management is often a challenge for ADHD as well. So I have my strongest skills are actually my response inhibition. So that's how I know that I'm not ADHD because I'm very, very, I'm not impulsive. Goal-directed persistence and metacognition are my strongest skills. My weakest are task initiation. I can get stuck about getting started. Stress tolerance, flexibility. I don't like swapping between tasks. I like to do what I'm doing and not stop. And emotional control. I'm not even sure how that one came out. So I must just get stressed out when things don't go my way. Okay. Let's see, TAS 20 is the alexithymia test. And so the threshold is 61. I scored 66, so I do have the alexithymia. Alexithymia is, let's see if I can get something that explains it. Research shows that 40 to 65% of autistic people have a subtype of autism with alexithymia. Currently, much of the understanding of autism is conflated and confused with characteristics of alexithymia. Clinicians must identify whether a person has alexithymia because it is a treatable disorder, while autism is inherent with neurology. Alexithymia results in difficulty identifying and describing emotions, and it often comes from trauma, so it can be treated. And so I did get autism with alexithymia. The TEQ, I do have high emotional intelligence. What is this one? The YB. Okay, so this was the OCD test. So the threshold was 8, which is mild not mild autism, mild OCD. And I got 19, which is moderate. So it can go all the way up to 40. This next part was interesting to me. So this VIA is the inventory of strengths. And so the VIA reveals consistent patterns for autism, ADHD, and other neurological differences. Autism, for example, is generally associated with high rankings of honesty, love of learning, judgment, and fairness, and low rankings of zest, leadership, teamwork, and social intelligence. And so it said high honesty, love of learning, judgment, fairness. So I had three of those that it listed out. And then low zest, leadership, teamwork, and social intelligence. So I had, some of the top ones show up in that too. The RMET. So the RMET had you looking at just eyes, and then it would give you options, like it was multiple choice, but it gave you options of what is the emotion of these eyes. And it was measuring it, it was testing you in multiple ways. So one, how many of those did you get correct? Two, how long did it take you to do the test? And three, what was your process of getting to the correct answer? And so I actually did really good. So I got a score of 30, and most neurotypical people get a score of 23 to 30. Most autistic people get a score of 18 to 29. So I actually did better than most autistic people. But this is where it got me here is it took me 7 minutes and 27 seconds to do that test, and it usually takes a neurotypical person under 4 minutes to do that test because they're more intuitive about it. That's how they're doing it. They look at it, they just know, they just instinctively know that this is what that means. And that's where this part came in too, is that a lot of times I was looking at the answers than the eyes. I would look at the multiple choice, and I would see, okay, there's two that just definitely those don't make sense at all. There's two that it could be. There's one that makes the most sense. It just kind of, you can just feel it. So that's how I did that. All right. Now let's go to this last one here. And so this was the ADHD test. I was confused by this because it says consistent with ADHD, but then I also got this is for the DSM-5 for ADHD, and I got inconsistent. So the way that she described it to me was that all the traits of ADHD are part of being autistic, except for the impulsivity and the hyperactivity. But like the executive function, the inattentive, the maladaptive daydreaming, just kind of like taking in all the information and getting easily distracted, those things are definitely part of both ADHD and autism. So that's why they can kind of get confused with each other. But like I said, that impulsiveness and the hyperactivity, those are the big ones. Those are the big ones. And I definitely did not have that. Let's see. The last one, another ADHD, and it's inconsistent with the ADHD. So I was not diagnosed with the ADHD. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this, and I will go ahead and bring up the Aspie quiz, and we'll do that together. All right, so share Aspie quiz. Okay. So we're going to go through, and I will put the link to this in the description box below if you want to take this test too. We're going to go ahead and start this test. All right. All right. So I was born in 1980. March. Hmm, well, mm, I'm just going to put other on that. Okay. Um, I do have the professional diagnostic of autism, and I am not ADHD. I am that, and no. All right. Okay, so am I shy? I am shy. I'm very shy. We're gonna answer these with either I don't know, 0 is no or never, 1 is a little, 2 is yes, often. Okay, so do you need to do things yourself in order to remember them? Usually, yes. I like to hear it, see it, do it. So I'm going to say usually yes. I'm going to put a 1 on that. Do you have an urge to jump over things? I do not have an urge to jump over things. Are you good at teamwork? I think I can usually be good at teamwork. So I'm going to put a 1 on that. Do you find it difficult to engage in a task of no interest, even if it is important? Absolutely. Do you practice what you want to say? Yes, I have full conversations before I ever have conversations. Yes. Do you like to protect people you are attached to, even when that I do? Yes, and it gets me in trouble sometimes. Um, are you often delighted by small things like the colors in soap bubbles and the five-pointed star shape that appears when you cut an apple? I can be. I'm going to put a 1 on that one. I can be. Do you just like being hugged when you haven't asked for it? Absolutely. Do you prefer to do things on your own, even if you could use others' help or expertise? Depends. Do you have an unusual sexual preference? I would not say that I do. Do you find yourself at ease in romantic situations? I don't. Um, do you tend to interpret things literally? I do. That took me a while to get to saying a yes, a full yes too. I would have probably hit a 1 on that. Because I'm so literal that I would have taken that as literal as do I literally do it every time? No, I don't literally do it every time, but the majority of the time, yes, I'm literally doing it. Do you have an urge to observe the habits of humans or animals? I do. I do. Will you abandon your friends if your activities or ideals clash? It depends. Um, do you find it natural to wave or say hi when you meet people? No, I do not. Do you like being in style? I like being in my style. So we'll say maybe. Um, have others told you that you have odd posture or gait? Yes. Do you feel that you are a very special or unusual person? I am a very unusual person. Yes. Um, do you worry your friend doesn't really like you? I often rejection sensitivity. Do you instinctively know when it is your turn to speak? No, I don't. When talking on the phone, no. Um, can things that might seem meaningless to others make sense to you? Sometimes. Um, in conversations, do you need extra time to carefully think out your reply so that there may be a pause? Yes, I would appreciate that. I don't think fast on my feet. No, because I have to plan it. And if you've said something that I haven't planned, then I don't know what to do with that yet. Do you fail to understand pop culture, things like being in style and why people jump? So, yes. So, going back to that, do you like to be in style? like I said, I have my own style and I get compliments all the time on my style, but my style is not everybody's style. Like that's that's why people compliment me on it. So I'm gonna say sometimes fail to understand because I don't really care about the pop culture. Um, but if I don't know. I don't know. Do you like to create routines for things you figured out so you don't have to be absolutely? Why would I do it all again? Do you feel an urge to peel flakes off yourself and others? I have had dermatillomania. I have to control that. Yes. Are your eyes extra sensitive to strong light and glare? Yes. In a conversation, do you tend to focus on your own thoughts rather than what you might rather than what your listener might be thinking? I'm going to say that's usually yes. I'm trying to prepare so that I don't sound stupid. Um, do you spend hours overthinking and reenacting negative social interactions? I do too many times. Do you have extra sensitive hearing? I can. I'm going to put on that the one, although and the only reason I'm doing that is because I have what's called reverse slope hearing loss. So, where the most common type of hearing loss is you lose those high frequency sounds first. Um, I have the low frequencies are the ones that are hard for me to hear. So that's why I put a one on that. But I do actually feel like I have pretty good hearing in other situations. Are you sensitive to changes in humidity and air pressure? I would get migraines, yes. Do you find it easy to keep up with group discussions when everyone is speaking? I cannot, so I usually will just listen. I will just take it in. Do you enjoy big events even if they are crowded? Not at all. Not at all. Do you have a good sense of how much pressure to apply when doing things with your hands? I would think so. I'm gonna put one just because who knows? Have you been accused of staring? Not usually. Has it been harder for you than others to keep friends? Yeah, it has. Do you feel irritated when one person disagrees with what everyone else in the group believes? No. Um, do you have you sensed that somebody was around you even when you couldn't see anybody all the time? Is your sense of humor fairly conventional? I don't think so. Do you tend to shut down or have a meltdown when stressed or overwhelmed? Absolutely. Do you have a fascination for slowly flowing water? Yes. Do you bite your lip, cheek, or tongue when thinking, anxious, or nervous? Yes, I do. I told in the other video about at the grocery store, I every time somebody walks by. Do you dislike it when people stamp their foot in the floor? I don't have feelings about it at all. So I'm just gonna no. Do you have one special talent which you have emphasized and worked on? I'm gonna say looking behind me, maybe. Do you like tongue kissing? Actually, I don't. Um, do you tend to play the same tune many times in a row? I do. Um, do you find it easier to understand and communicate with odd and unusual people than ordinary people? I do. Like ADHD people tend to be very fun. Do you have trouble reading clocks? No. Can you easily remember verbal instructions? No. No. Do you notice patterns in things all the time? Yes. Do you have problems with timing in conversations? Sometimes, usually, yes. Do people sometimes think you are smiling at the wrong occasion? Yep. Um, do you instinctively become frightened by the sound of a motorbike? Usually. Um, Do you tend to get so absorbed by your special interest that you forget or ignore everything else? I can, and I love it when that happens. Do others often misunderstand you? All the time? Do you usually find faults with opinions that you don't share? Probably. Do you wring your hands, rub your hands together, or twirl your fingers? I do. Do you recognize a lot of people? I don't. I don't tend to look at people's faces. So like even when I'm looking at you, I'm gonna be looking probably like right above your eyes, like right here, or I'll look below. I'm not usually look, yeah. So I don't see people's faces a lot. Do you like to walk behind people you're attached to? I like to be close to the people I'm attached to, yes. Do you have an avid perseverance in gathering or cataloging information? Yes. About a topic of interest? Yes. Do you realize hours later that somebody that you have a romantic interest for actually showed interest for you, and then you feel bad about the missed opportunity? Yeah. When you listen to music, can you get so caught up in it that you don't notice anything else? Yes. Do you enjoy to travel? Depends. Depends. As a teenager, were you usually unaware of social rules and boundaries unless they were clearly spelled out? Sometimes. Is your sense of humor different from mainstream? I would say, yeah, could be. If there is an interruption, can you quickly return to what you were doing before? I do not like interruptions. I do not like, yeah. Do you tend to express your feelings in a way that may baffle others? Maybe. Do you dislike when people walk behind you? Yes. Do you prefer to construct your own set of spiritual beliefs rather than following existing religions? Yes. Do you have difficulty judging distances, height, depth, speed? I don't think so. Are you bothered by clothes, tags, or light touch? Yes. Like I've told people always, if you're going to touch me, touch me. Just touch me. Don't touch me. Um, are you asexual? No. Do you prefer to learn the character of a potential romantic partner through observation rather than conversation? Ooh, sometimes. Did you feel lonely as a child? Sometimes. Do you need a lot of motivation to do things? Sometimes. Do you rock back and forth or side to side for comfort to calm yourself or when overexcited? I do. Do you get confused by several verbal instructions at the same time? Yes. Do you prefer to only meet people you know one-on-one or in small familiar groups? One-on-one. Yes. Do you find it easy to describe your feelings? No, I have to figure my feelings out. Do you examine the hair of people you like a lot? Probably, but I don't know. That feels creepy when you say it like that. So I don't sit and think about that very much. Do you find it easy to estimate the age of people? No, I am not very good at that. Do you feel as if you were being persecuted in some way? I don't know. I mean, I would say sometimes we all feel like that, but no. Do you see your own activities as more important than others? No. Would you quickly become impatient and irritated if you would not find a solution to a problem? I can. Do you have problems filling out forms? Sometimes. Do you naturally approach somebody that you have? Who does that? Do you naturally approach somebody that you have a romantic interest for? Who does that? No. Naturally? Do you have obsessive attachments to animate objects? I have, yes. Do you find it hard to tell the age of people? Yes. Do you notice odors that other peoples don't seem to notice? So I'm going to put right here because COVID took my smell away, but I have been able to smell things that other people did not smell. Are you still fascinated by many of the things that you were interested in when you were much younger? I'm gonna put yes, sort of. Um, do you have or used to have imaginary relationships? Not really. Do you tend to look a lot at people you like and a little or not at all at people you dislike? Yeah. Do you have difficulty describing and summarizing things, for example, events? Absolutely. Do you pace? Yes. Is it difficult to pass on messages correctly? Sometimes. Do you find it difficult to take notes in a lecture? Sometimes. Do you dislike it when people, and I'll tell you, why is it difficult? Because what information is actually important? I'm either going to take down all the information or none of the information. I don't know what is the priority information. Do you dislike it when people drop by to visit you uninvited? Yes. I need to know the plan. Do you tend to say things that are considered socially inappropriate when you are tired, frustrated, or when you act naturally? I don't think I do. I'm usually pretty mindful. Do you need to prepare yourself mentally before going somewhere every time? Do you enjoy spinning in circles? Sometimes. Do you enjoy traditional dating? Who enjoys traditional dating? Who? Do you tap your ears or press your eyes when thinking yes? Do you have problems finding your way to new places? Yes, I will get lost even with GPS. Do you like to have small talk before getting on to the important conversations? No. Is it important for you to find a unique niche where you can acquire unique competence? Yes. Do you have difficulty accepting criticism, correction, direction sometimes? Do you tend to get romantic feelings for people that persistently show interest for you? I can. Do you feel you have to be on your guard even with friends? Yes, usually. Do you cry about nothing? I'm a Pisces, so do you have a good sense of time? I'm pretty good about time, yes. Have you been talked into having sex even if you really didn't want to? Unfortunately, yes. Do you tend to wander off the topic when having conversation? I can do that, yes. Have you experienced stronger than normal attachments to certain people? Yes. Do you have to keep an eye out to stop people from taking advantage of you? Yes. Do you accept criticism, correction, and direction? It depends. It is hard. Is it hard for you to see why some things upset people so much? I mean, sometimes. Do you avoid talking because you cannot reliably predict how others? Yes. Yes. Are you good at interpreting facial expressions? Nope, I'm not. Do you expect others to know your thoughts, experiences, and opinions without you having to tell them? Sometimes I do. All right, so let's calculate and see what happens. Ah, look at that. Um, so this is very consistent with the autistic um and what I like about this is the way that it shows you. Okay, so this line right here, this side over here is neurotypical, this side is neurodivergent. And so you can see, it's got talent, talent, perception, perception, but this is neurotypical talent, neurodivergent talent. So neurodivergent talent is always really high up here. And then if you look, neurotypical social is, I have none. And so we've got, the neurotypical communication is low. I'm just low on all of those sides. But where is it showing my two scores? So your score of 145 and 200. Um, where is it showing me? Okay. Well, I'm just trying to figure. I'm guessing this is the neurotypical score. I'm 99% probability of being atypical autistic. What are the detailed results here? Let's see. Atypical talent, typical talent. Okay. Well, this is interesting because it actually breaks it down and it shows you, like, you can look at your results later and it shows you where you scored on, like, here's the typical perception. Do you instinctively know when it is your turn to speak when talking on the phone? I put 0. So typical would be the 2 probably. Um, and then atypical communication, typical communication. So that you can go through and I mean, you just learn so much about yourself by going through these different tests that I mean, I don't know, I just think it's amazing. And just to see the visual here of just like how it just lays out is pretty cool too. All right, so I'm going to stop it there. I just thought that you would find that interesting. Again, if it's something that you want to look at, I'm going to put that link down in the description box. I'd love to know what your results are. So if you want to even share your charts below, I'd love to see it. All right, so I'll talk to you next time.